You are not flesh and bone. You are not weak or slow. You're everything brave and bold, and you're fighting for us. You are not distant and cold. Your heart's not angry and closed. And even in ways we don't know, you're fighting for us. You won't hold back when it comes to...
This is the most important and crucial period of your lives, for what you do now and what you decide now at this age may well determine which way your life shall go. And the question is whether you have a proper, a solid, and a sound blueprint. And I want to suggest some of the things that should be in your life's blueprint. Number one in your life's blueprint should be a deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth, and your own somebodyness. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that you are nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth. And always feel that your life has ultimate significance. Secondly, in your life's blueprint, you must have, as a basic principle, the determination to achieve excellence in your various fields of endeavor. You're going to be deciding as the days and the years unfold what you will do in life, what your life's work will be. Once you discover what it will be, set out to do it, and to do it well. Be a bush if you can't be a tree. If you can't be a highway, just be a trail. If you can't be the sun, be a star. For it isn't by size that you win or you fail. Be the best of whatever you are. Finally, in your life's blueprint must be a commitment to the eternal principles of beauty, love, and justice. Well, life for none of us has been a crystal stair, but we must keep moving. We must keep going. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl, but by all means, keep moving.
Get started. Before we talk about Bitcoin, I want to take a moment and talk about money. What is money exactly? At its core, money represents value. If I do some work for you, you give me money in exchange for the value I gave you. I can then use that money to get something of value from someone else in the future. Throughout history, value has taken many forms, and people have used a lot of different materials to represent money. Salt, wheat, shells, and of course gold have all been used as a medium of exchange. However, in order for something to represent value, people have to trust that it is indeed valuable and will stay valuable long enough for them to redeem that value in the future. Up until 100 years ago or so, we always trusted in something to represent money. However, something happened along the way, and we've changed our trust model from trusting something to trusting in someone. Let me explain. Over time, people found it too cumbersome to walk around the world carrying bars of gold or other forms of money, so paper money was invented. Here's how it worked. A bank or government would offer to take possession of your bar of gold, let's say worth $1,000, and in return, that bank would give you receipt certificates, which we call bills, amounting to $1,000. Not only were these pieces of paper much easier to carry, but you could spend $1 on a cup of coffee and not have to cut your gold bar into 1,000 pieces. And if you wanted your gold back, you simply took $1,000 in bills back to the bank to redeem them for the actual form of money, in this case, that gold bar, whenever you needed. And so, paper began its use as money as an instrument of practicality and convenience. However, as time progressed and due to macroeconomic changes, this bond between the paper receipt and the gold it stands for was broken. Now, to explain the path that led us away from the gold standards is extremely complex, but suffice to say that governments told their people that the government itself would be liable for the value of that paper money. Basically, we all said, let's just forget about gold and trade paper instead. So people continued to trade with receipts that are backed by nothing but the government's promise. And why did that continue to work? Well, because of trust. Even though there is no actual commodity backing paper money, people trusted the government, and that's how fiat money was created. Fiat is a Latin word that means by decree, meaning the dollars or euros or any other currency for that matter have value because the government orders it to. It's what's known as legal tender, coins or banknotes that must be accepted if offered as payment. So the value of today's money actually comes from a legal status given to it by a central authority, in this case, the government. And so the trust model has changed from trusting something to trusting someone, in this case, the government. Fiat money has two main drawbacks. One, it is centralized. You have a central authority that controls and issues it, in this case, the government or central bank. And two, it is not limited by quantity. The government or central bank can print as much as they want whenever needed and inflate the money supply on the market. The problem with printing money is that because you're flooding the market with more money, the value of each dollar drops, so your own money is worth less. When you see prices rising throughout the years, it's not necessarily that prices are rising as much as that the purchasing power of your money is dropping. You need more.
The liver plays an important role in keeping us living healthy. So today we're going to give you some great tips on how you can show your liver some love and keep it working for you. First, watch your weight.
Stay at a healthy weight or reach a healthy weight if you're not at a healthy weight right now. This has beneficial effects in that it can reduce fat, inflammation, and even scarring in the liver if you do have that.
Next, Dr. Ranella suggests reaching for a cup of coffee, as long as you take it black.
Up to 4 cups of coffee a day without sugar and cream, for example, can reduce liver scarring and can be healthy as long as your doctor doesn't advise against it because of heart conditions.
Third, when you're making a meal, reach for some olive oil.
Olive oil intake can have beneficial effects on the liver, potentially reducing fat and inflammation. It produces a less inflammatory fat profile in the liver, and it's also healthy for the heart.
Fourth, Dr. Ranella recommends cutting back on alcohol.
So alcohol leads to an inflammatory response in addition to fat accumulation that rapidly develops into scarring in the liver if it's in excess. For women, less than 1 drink per day, and for men, less than 2 drinks per day would be within a generally healthy realm for the liver.
And finally, get up and get moving. You'll see both liver and full body benefits.
Exercise, sure, it's beneficial in general. We think it might decrease the fat content in the liver. We don't have a specific exercise prescription that we are convinced is specifically beneficial, but generally exercise is good.
There you have it, 5 great tips on how to help keep your liver healthy.
Their houses have been burned down, farms destroyed, schools have been burned down as well, hospitals have been destroyed. They have been living in those villages for decades, centuries. They have learned. They have their roots there, they have their cultural inheritance there. And they are now being forced to leave those areas to go somewhere else very far from home, where they cannot speak the language, They don't understand the culture, and they are some sort of outsiders. Even though the neighboring regions have huge numbers of Muslims, this is not happening there. It's happening exactly in Cabo Delgado. We would assume that it somehow relates to the developments of Cabo Delgado itself. In case of Boko Haram or Shabab or Al Qaeda, they would come and speak in public, they would preach and write and even challenge the government or others. Yeah. In this case, we don't know, and that's why I'm thinking that maybe when it started, the whole thing, it just snowballed into what it is today, but maybe it didn't start the way it ended. Because we don't have that leadership that didn't appear, didn't explain, didn't show what they want to do. Still the same problem persists, is a problem of not knowing what exactly they stand for and what exactly they want. Maybe the leadership has some kind of links to the Islamic State. I am sure that Islamic State members never ever heard of Mozambique until they found out about the insurgency. But I would think that there is some kind of ideological influence since 2019 over the insurgency, because it's now much more harder, spectacular kind of violence, beheadings that became much more numerous and all that. The insurgents thrive where there's poverty and where there are divisions and where there is discontent. It was the case in many areas of Cabo Delgado, where they were able to recruit among groups of people that felt marginalized. The wealth always goes first to those who are linked to power. And those might not necessarily be the majority. You know, the deals that are signed with the multinationals are not very transparent. It's also not clear what is expected from those multinationals once they invest in a country like Mozambique that is very poor. It's very unfair that people who have always lived near that wealth that was undiscovered and now has been discovered and has been explored cannot, one, benefit from it, but also they are losing everything they had before now that this wealth has been discovered. The way it is going, I don't think it's going anywhere. It's just getting worse and worse, and it will be worse. And we saw in other regions that it can continue for decades.
Hold back when it comes to your children. You fiercely defend us, so we stand delivered. You're fighting for us.